Hola students, welcome back to another video. For this class, we're still focusing on las vacaciones pasadas, past holidays or past vacation. Before we move on to what I have planned for today, vamos a repasar. In the last class, you learned how to ask someone where they went on their Easter holidays. So that question is, ¿A dónde fuiste en las vacaciones de Pascuas? ¿A dónde fuiste en las vacaciones de Pascuas? Y para responder, and to respond to the question, you simply say, yo fui al, or yo fui a la, followed by the place, meaning I went to wherever the place is. But remember, we only use al if the place is masculine, meaning that the place has the article el. So, if the place has the article el, we would say yo fui al, and then you put the place. However, if the place is feminine, meaning that it has the article la, we would say yo fui a la, followed by the place. Apart from saying I went to wherever the place is, you also learned how to talk about where other persons went. So you learned yo fui, tú fuiste, él, ella, usted fue, ellos, ellas, ustedes fueron, and nosotros fuimos. Now, para esta clase, we're going to talk about what you did during the Easter break. Entonces, our focus sentence will be durante las vacaciones de Pascuas, meaning during the Easter holiday. So we want to say during the Easter holiday I ran, during the Easter holiday we swam, we did this, etc. So the sentence is durante las vacaciones de Pascuas. And of course, we will need our subject pronouns. Do you remember them?
But don't you remember?
So therefore, if you're talking about yourself, then you would say durante las vacaciones de Pascuas, yo. During the Easter holiday, I, followed by whatever it is that you did. And if you're talking about, let's say, a group of males, then you know that would be ellos. So you would say durante las vacaciones de Pascuas, ellos. So you already know the phrase durante las vacaciones de Pascuas, meaning during the Easter holiday, right? And you know how to say I or you or we or he, she, they, etc. So now we're going to have to focus on the verb or the activity. So we need the verb to complete the sentence. For example, during the Easter holiday, we swam, or during the Easter holiday, I danced. Now, recuerda, remember, in Spanish, we have three categories of verbs. We have Ar ending verbs. Those are verbs which end in AR, such as bailar. We have ER ending verbs, such as comer. And we have IR ending verbs, such as escribir. Remember, we said that we're focusing on what we did during the Easter holiday, right? So we will be conjugating the verbs in the past tense. And remember, this is also known as the preterite tense, or in Espanol, el tiempo pretérito. To conjugate verbs in the preterite or the past tense, all we have to do is to kick off the AR, the ER, or the IR from off the verb. And then you're going to add these endings. So we would remove the AR and we would add este o amos aron. The ER and the IR verbs, you'd realize that they share the same endings. So we would remove either the ER or the IR from off the verb, and then we would add iste, io, imos, ieron. Now, I have a small beat that you can use to help you to remember these endings. Este o amos aron, este o amos aron, iste io, imos ieron, iste io, imos ieron, este o amos aron, este o amos aron, iste io, imos ieron, iste io, imos ieron. So simply remove the AR, ER, or the IR from off the verb, and then we add these endings. Let's do an example with an AR ending verb. The AR verb bailar means to dance. So we want to put it in the past tense. Let us say we want to say during the Easter holiday, I danced, you danced, we danced, etc. So all we have to do is to, step 1, remove the AR from bailar, and step 2, we're going to add the appropriate endings. So if you look carefully, we have BAILAR, bailar, When we remove the AR, we end up with BAIL, bile, and then we add our endings, easte o, amos, aron. So we end up with bailé, bailaste, bailó, bailamos, and finally bailaron. Let us now do an example with an ER ending verb. The ER verb beber means to drink. All we have to do is to remove the ER from beber and then we add our endings. So when we remove the ER from beber, we are left with beb, B-E-B. Following this, we're going to have to add iiste, iyo, imos, ieron. So if you look carefully, you notice that we end up getting bebí, bebiste, bebió, bebimos, and finally bebieron. The IR ending verb escribir means to write, so we want to put it in the past tense to say I wrote, she wrote, etc. So the first thing we have to do is to remove the IR from escribir. When we remove the IR, we end up with escrib. The next step would be for us to add our endings, so we would add the iiste, iyo, imos, ieron. So notice we end up getting escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, and finally escribieron. So basically students, all you have to do to conjugate a verb in the preterite or the past tense, whether you want to say you ran, you jumped, you skipped, you hopped, whatever it is that you want to say, all you have to do is to remove the AR, the ER, or the IR from off the verb, and then you add these endings. Try these 3 examples for yourselves. Remember, remove the AR, ER, or the IR from off the verb and then add the appropriate ending.
A few moments later.
If you wrote, durante las vacaciones de Pascuas nosotros nadamos. Durante las vacaciones de Pascuas ellos comieron pollo frito. And durante las vacaciones de Pascuas yo subí el árbol, then you are correct.
How about a round of applause?
But students, I must inform you that we have a few irregular verbs. Yes, I'm very serious, but just as how in English we would add the ed to form the past tense, for example, wash would become washed, but then we have a few irregular verbs such as break, turn into broke, and write, turn into wrote. Well, we also have some irregular verbs in Spanish. I have prepared a handout and this will be presented in the next class. Now, you also have an activity to complete on Google Classroom. It's a sentence completion activity. Now students, all you have to do is this. The verb will be right there in the bracket. All you have to do is to remove the AR, ER, or the IR from off the verb. After you do that, you're going to simply look at who or what the sentence is talking about, and then you're going to add the appropriate ending. And that's it for today. Adios.
Adiós, adiós, nuestra clase terminó. Adiós, adiós, nuestra clase terminó.